So one of the other tie-ins to Final Crisis was the Legion of Three Worlds thing I mentioned. Despite the fact that it has nothing to do with Final Crisis, it actually serves as more a sequel to Infinite Crisis than this does, since it's about the three different Legion of superheroes from its various reboots teaming up to fight Superboy Prime. And even that is a bit of a disappointment because Superman declares that their end goal is to redeem Superboy Prime, try to make him not evil anymore, and it's a resounding failure. But enough about that, here's the only reason that story seems to exist. Because Superman is now in the 31st century and talking to Brainiac 5. Time and space are continuing to break down, and that's affecting even the far future. Fortunately, Brainiac 5 has a way to solve this. Another bit of obscure continuity. The Miracle Machine, a device that can turn thoughts into reality, especially if you make a wish. Naturally, such a thing is so powerful to be dangerous not just for evil people, but even for good, since a stray thought could have utterly horrific implications too. Superman starts fading away back to his time, but Brainiac 5 just tells him to keep looking at the Miracle Machine. So here's another really nice bit of subtlety. That symbol that we keep seeing, the one given to Anthro by Metron, it's actually a crude drawing of the Miracle Machine. So naturally, Metron gave it to a caveman whose drawings of it contributed absolutely nothing to the story. The fights continue in the present, with the Watchtower soon under attack by Justifiers, while those in Bloodhaven continue their own struggle, particularly Supergirl, Captain Marvel, and Black Adam versus the possessed Mary Marvel, while Calabac fights Captain Marvel's occasional talking tiger buddy, Talkie Tawny. Tawny manages to kill Calabac, which, since he's shown superior strength, means all of Calabac's forces swear fealty to him, while Freddy uses his own lightning to transform Mary Marvel back to her civilian form, which frees her from Desaad. And then in a Justice Society storyline shortly afterwards, she's back into her evil form before losing her powers altogether, and man, Mary Marvel got screwed over thanks to this and Countdown. Back at Checkmate, Mr. Miracle explains that the symbol drawn on the faces of the Super Young team is actually a letter in the alphabet of the New Gods, a living symbol meaning freedom from restriction. It's basically a way to protect themselves from the anti-life equation. Well then why the hell didn't Metron leave that for us? Unfortunately, it seems that may have arrived too late. Checkmate's shields are gone. Countdown has begun. Oh god, time is compressing! Countdown is starting all over! With that, Mr. Terrific decides to introduce them to their last gambit, the thing being shown to Renee Montoya. Basically, they think Earth is doomed, so their only hope is to try to escape into another universe. They even have their own version of Brother Eye, for some reason called Lord Eye here. According to an interview, it's Maxwell Lord's brain inside of the jar that's connected to Brother Eye. Yeah, just ignore that. We live within a multiverse of possibilities, Miss Montoya. Why, in one universe, I could try to take over the world with zombie spider cyborgs. Huh. Brother Eye, zombie spider cyborgs, and a bunch of refugees from one parallel universe to another. That sounds like the basis for a really crappy weekly series. So what the hell is Renee Montoya doing here? Well, that's simple. Because of her experience both as a police officer and as a superhero, she has insight into both worlds, which makes her uniquely qualified to act as the liaison to whatever universe they end up having to settle on. Back over to Libra and the villains, it's revealed that the one who helped the heroes was, in fact, Lex Luthor. Dr. Savannah uses a short-range jammer to override the Justifier helmets of his guards, and Lex uses his power suit to blast a hole through Libra, killing him. The two villains begin to hatch their plan to help fix this crap. Over to Barry Allen, who better explains what happened to him in the original Crisis. I think. Like with a lot of this book, I have to kind of infer what's going on based on the few bits of expository dialogue that we get. Basically, as he ran faster and faster around the antimatter cannon, he approached the speed of light. In physics, there's a point where you go past the speed of light, the superluminal barrier, where matter converts into pure information. He was sent back from beyond that barrier with info on how to stop Darkseid. Step 1, prevent Orion from being shot. I guess. So I guess this is plan B now, since, they screwed the pooch on that one. They need the Black Racer, and since the Black Racer is still chasing Barry Allen, they can use that to their advantage. As such, reunited with Jay Garrick, the three set off to get the Racer's attention. Back with Darkseid, everything has gotten really trippy. Batman has escaped his restraints and confronts him. Darkseid,
You look like I feel.
See, I told them to moisturize it, but apparently no one had any lotion on them.
You shouldn't have shot Orion.
And yet it kinda makes sense. There was that whole prophecy about how the new gods would die with Orion and Darkseid fighting to the death in a struggle or something. So Darkseid just shooting him seems like kind of a clever way to subvert that. According to Batman, the battle still resulted in Orion wounding Darkseid beyond repair, no matter how many bodies he jumps into. I'm not sure how that ties into the whole Darkseid falling is destroying all of reality thing, especially because of what's about to happen. Batman pulls out a gun loaded with the bullets that killed Orion.
I made a very solemn vow about firearms, but for you, I'm making a once-in-a-lifetime exception.
No, I don't buy it for 1 minute.
Yeah, this is just... no. Look, if you're gonna do something like this, break the kind of huge-ass thing that has been Batman's hatred of guns, you gotta have something leading into it. Sure, end of the world and all that, but the book hasn't properly framed that from Batman's perspective. Hell, the tie-ins to this, and yes, I read them at the time, don't even do a great job of that, since it's just this weird-ass vision thing from the drugs they're pumping into him to try to create clones of him or whatever. I've brought it up before, but that college humor Batman sketch did a better job of setting up his no-guns thing than this.
What happened to no guns?
This is a gun?
But whatever. He shoots Darkseid, and Darkseid shoots his Omega beams at Batman, supposedly killing him. They didn't. No, really, despite all the hype DC did at the time of ZOMG, we're killing Batman, they're not. They reveal he's alive by the end of the book. I know, drama and all that, but this book has not earned this attempted fake-out. We get a montage of shots about stuff happening all at once. Nix Wotan trying to make sense of it all as Metron resumes his normal shape. He says Nix's arrival as the judge of all evil inaugurates the Fifth World, the age of men as gods. Again, whatever the hell that means. But he also warns that these new humans face a greater menace than Darkseid if they breach the bleed wall. Granny goodness! No, not her, but I'll explain in a moment. In case you're wondering what the bleed is, it's like the space between parallel universes. That's probably why the red skies were bleeding before. With the multiverse collapsing, the bleed is seeping into the world. Superman arrives back on Earth, and I guess just found out everything that's happened because he friggin' zooms past everything into the bunker and right down into it, claiming, supposedly, Batman's dead body.
Clark, with my last breath, I curse rock and roll!
So, here's where things get a bit weird. Like I said at the start, most of Final Crisis is understandable if you're paying attention. Darkseid takes over the world with the anti-life equation, new gods possessing people and being reborn. Somehow this is causing the multiverse to collapse, etc. But issue 7 is where it goes off the rails. You may have noticed that despite being a 7-issue series, the trade I'm holding is kind of thick. That's because DC decided to include some of the tie-ins to Final Crisis in order to make the story a bit more coherent. The most important of those tie-ins is Superman Beyond 3D, a 2-issue miniseries that shows what happened when Zillow Vala recruited Clark Kent. It's weird. A story about stories, about the monitors and retcons to how the original monitor worked, and about the true monster that threatens the multiverse. So I thought for a while about whether I was going to include the Superman Beyond stuff as part of this review. The point of Event Comics Month is to only look at the event miniseries, not the tie-ins. However, DC has decided that Final Crisis needed these tie-ins to make sense, so they included them in the official trade collection of Final Crisis. And I have decided, well, that's your problem, DC. If you put out a story that needs supplementary reading in order for it to be coherent, then it's a bad story. If you thought it was that important, you should have put it in the actual damn comic. No, I don't care if a plot point is explained in Seven Soldiers. No, I don't care if Superman Beyond explains the larger context of what's going on. You didn't put it in the damn book. Not everyone buys all the tie-ins to a crossover. And yeah, good job putting it into the trade paperback for people. And also kudos for this version of the trade not being in 3D. It was a gimmick in the original story, and and would have just made it harder to read it. But that's fixing the problem after the event is already over. And I hate to break it to you, but I read Superman Beyond, and it's actually more incoherent than Final Crisis because it deals even more with meta, fourth wall breaking ideas about stories and forgotten characters and all that. That's where the Nazi Supergirl thing comes in, by the way. Nazi Superman was looking for her in that book. Why she suddenly collapsed on a New Earth, I still have no idea, but whatever. So let's talk about that theory put forth about Final Crisis and what the hell this is all supposed to mean. According to the author of that theory, Rick Dad, a lot of the events in the story, particularly for Superman, are meant to be a mirror to Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, a famous Alan Moore story depicting the last adventure of the Silver Age Superman. It's got some pretty compelling evidence and parallels. The general idea, as I understand it, is meant to be a rejection of Alan Moore's style of storytelling with superheroes, deconstructing them and then eliminating them, seen both in Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, as well as Watchmen and a few other tales. The final villain of the story, Mandrak the Dark Monitor, is supposed to be a stand-in for Moore himself, while Nix Wotan is Grant Morrison. It's supposed to be a pushback at darker storytelling elements that say that superheroes are childish, irrelevant fantasies, and that ultimately, the story of a child rocketed to Earth from a doomed planet is always going to be a superior story than whatever you throw out there about death, misery, and the best of us becoming the worst of us. It's a very compelling theory. I highly suggest you all go read it, especially if you have read Final Crisis and are confused, because it does suggest so many new layers to this story. The problem is, I don't care! Even if all this allegory was deliberate, it doesn't make the story good or well told. It just means it has layers to it. Congratulations on how frickin' clever you are! Now can we please have a coherent narrative, Grant Morrison? If this had been a well-told story, then this would have been one of the most deep and compelling and hopefully influential superhero stories ever told. But it's not! It's not well told! It's not well presented! It's missing tons of information! And even then, if this was supposed to be the point of Final Crisis, then it requires an encyclopedic knowledge of the DC universe that even I don't possess, because I sure as hell would have never guessed any of it! And it comes back to the biggest problem of comics like this. Basically what you're saying is that in order to get this story, you needed to read supplementary material. Tie-in books, and books that are over 30 years old. And that, my friends, is the greatest sin of event comics, when you can't just tell a story inside of its own pages. All three other events we've talked about this year were sequels to other stories. And yet you could conceivably pick up any of them and understand what's going on without having read the stories they're based on. Not so Final Crisis. Like I said, issue 7 is where things go off the rails, partially because the narrative of this issue is just confusing as all hell. It's told both in flashback and in present time, condensing a lot of exposition in to try to make sense of what's going on. It starts off on a parallel Earth where Superman is basically Obama. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Morrison said he deliberately made that parallel because of a growing sense of optimism about the future, and because of a joke Obama once made about being rocketed to Earth from Krypton. And hey, if Obama had turned out to be Superman, well, thanks, Obama. He meets up with the Wonder Woman of this Earth. The multiverse is collapsing everywhere, and they have the red skies too, and she's using a special Wonder Horn to call for help. And help arrives in some kind of spaceship that emerges from space itself, surging on a foam of gravitons like some new Argo. It's cargo, not gods, not monsters, but heroes. Heroes? I don't believe this. A whole multiverse, and they all look like you guys? Renee Montoya, Earth's diplomatic liaison, everybody. On that note, she apparently decided on a different solution than just running away. She's going through the multiverse and recruiting Superman from each to come help solve this crisis. New Earth, however, is not doing so well. The space-time continuum has officially been flushed down the toilet, and all that's left is a watchtower with all of Earth's remaining survivors. Flashing back, Darkseid mocks Superman as he holds Batman's body, saying soon every mind in existence will be his mind.
Will you be the enemy of all existence then? What irony that will be, son of Krypton.
My God, I can't say that over there needs to take care of itself if over there is everywhere. Darkseid prepares to kill Superman with his Omega beams as well, but that's when the Flashes arrive with the Black Racer hot on their tails. They're able to outrun the Racer, but they do so by running right through Darkseid, who was also on the Racer's list. Somehow, this does not kill him, but does wound him significantly on top of the damage Batman's bullet did. The Ray is able to free everyone on Earth from the anti-life equation by tracing the new God letter across the Earth's surface in a bright beam of light. With Wonder Woman freed, she uses the lasso of truth on Darkseid, separating his consciousness from Dan Turpin. Reality is still breaking down, though, which is where a lot of the sequences in the present, for lack of a better term, are coming in. Superman has the remaining heroes and geniuses still alive, including Luthor and Savannah, try to recreate the Miracle Machine based on the look of it he memorized from seeing it in the future. Darkseid, his consciousness now floating in the void, taunts him that he'll take control of the Miracle Machine. However, Superman has a way to destroy him. The worlds of the multiverse vibrate together, Darkseid, and make this sound like an orchestra. Everything's just vibrations, really, and counter vibrations that cancel them out. And so Superman sings a tune that destroys Darkseid's essence. And the question must be asked, what music was it that could utterly destroy Darkseid? Well, you should know, I've been playing it over the title cards this entire month. As Superman finishes the Miracle Machine, the multiverse continues to collapse into darkness. And it's then when he's confronted by Mandrak, the Dark Monitor from Superman Beyond. And again, if you had only been reading Final Crisis, you'd have no idea just who the hell this vampire monitor guy is. Oh yeah, at the end of Superman Beyond, that monitor Ogama transformed into him too, so thanks some more for including him in this story, but not revealing how this happened. Anyway, Mandrak prepares to kill Superman, but he uses the solar energy in his cells to power up the Miracle Machine, and that's when everybody shows up to help. All the Supermen of the multiverse, Nyx Wotan with Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo crew, the Angels of Heaven itself, and the Green Lantern Corps, finally getting through the time distortions and reaching Earth. Oh, and the Super Young team along with Sunny Sumo. I guess they were important to bring into this for some reason. They all attack, with the Green Lantern Corps in particular staking Mandrak. This multiverse has natural defenses none of you could have imagined. No one with the judge of all evil. And I'm sure if I understood what the hell that was, or why you're even in this story, that would mean something. Oh, and in the trade collection, they alter that to, don't push your luck with the judge of all evil. Because, you know, a lot of kids are going to be reading this. And there might be added pages to the trade of a larger fight scene between, Mandrak's forces and all these assembled heroes and stuff. But I can't recall it either way because, let's face it, this whole thing is a mess. Everything is restored to normal thanks to Superman's wish with the Miracle Machine. Nyx Wotan returns to the monitors and gives a report on everything that's happened, including rebuilding his own Earth so that it has life again, with him watching over it once more. Nyx meets up with Ouija Dell, and now they're a couple, I guess. Still, I'll give the comic props because she asks what Superman wished for on the Miracle Machine that could result in all this. And it's kind of the most brilliant answer, metatextual allegory for stories or not. He wished for a happy ending. Also, Nyx Wotan wakes up back on Earth in his human form because I guess the monitors were either kidding when they said they were bringing him back, or that human form was its own thing, or I don't know and I don't care. And so Final Crisis ends where it began, with the caveman Anthro. Except here, he's an old man and finishes drawing the Miracle Machine symbol on a cave wall before he passes away of natural causes. However, we discover that he's not alone, as someone else begins drawing on the cave wall. Batman, alive and well and in caveman times.
Damn it, Anthro, you were supposed to be my Alfred. Now I've got to do these cave drawings myself.
Final Crisis, depending on how you look at it, is either a magnificent work of art about stories, or a confusing hodgepodge of half-baked ideas and unexplained plot points. I've gone over most of the issues with it throughout this review, Some people manage to see the stuff better than I do. Overall, if you're paying attention to what's being said on the pages and depicted in the artwork, it is mostly easy to follow, with the trade collection including everything that you need to actually really get the whole scope of it. A lot of the dialogue is beautifully poetic and unique, and the dystopia created by Darkseid's conquest of Earth is terrifying and disgusting in its utter dehumanization and admission of its own evil and corruption. This is not a mustache-twirling villain situation, but rather a situation where sin itself is a religion. The tagline of "The Day Evil Won," horrific in its totality. The artwork in later issues was supplemented by Doug Mahnke because J.G. Jones fell behind, but both artists do great work with what they're given. However, it's still very discordant in a lot of places, and not helped by Grant Morrison's usual writing style of cramming 100 ideas into a single story. When he worked on JLA, he did that masterfully, even did a similar takeover of Earth by Darkseid, but here it really doesn't work. It resembles a Gold and Silver Age style of compressed storytelling, but while decompressed storytelling can get grating at times, the constant pace of this stuff leaves little room for exposition or emotional character depth. The most we get is with Barry Allen's return, which doesn't carry the weight it should. Plus, it just has so many unanswered questions. Why is Darkseid kidnapping children at the start? For funsies? Or evilsies in this case? Was this just to lure Dan Turpin to them? Why not just kidnap him if that's the case? Why are the new gods being reincarnated on Earth? Except it's not really reincarnation, but spiritual possession? How are they doing that anyway? If Mandrak is the final boss of the story, why is so much of it devoted to Darkseid? What was the significance of Alan Scott instituting a superhero draft? It affects nothing in the story, but they spend several pages on it as if it's supposed to be significant. This isn't even a thing for the tie-ins. Superheroes are drafted into an army to fight the evil gods, and then nothing comes of it. Why did Kraken frame Hal Jordan for Orion's murder and the attack on Jon Stewart? If her goal was to get close to the central power battery, wasn't she already on Oa when they summoned her? Or did she only get possessed after she came to Earth? Why did Metron leave that symbol of the miracle machine for humanity? Did he know that we would need it? I guess being a time traveler, he could have known we'd need it, but it seems like there are more direct ways of passing this information to them than hoping some cave paintings make it to the right people. Which they didn't. And most importantly, why did Wonder Woman say "Ola" to Mary Marvel when she punched her?
It just raises too many questions.
And so Event Comics Month 2 comes to a close. And hopefully episodes won't be this long again until, like, the 500th episode. Next time, though, it's finally time. I promised it years back, but now it has come. Power Rangers Turbo versus Beetleborgs Metallics. Actually, I think I know what music Superman really sang to destroy Darkseid.
Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Okay, bring him in.
You are my opponent for this contest?
Yep, name's Linkara. Although I would have thought you'd have read my dossier before meeting me.
I concerned myself only with those whom my advisors said were worth my time. Destergalga, the Blue Knight of Titan, the Hunter, Sharp Tusk, now there would have been a fight. But no. Whom do I have? A warrior of equal measure? No. An entertainment critic.
I have a spaceship.
Oh, well, truly am I blessed with a worthy adversary. How many battlefields have you crossed, whelp? How much blood have you had to wade through in the name of your empire? How many savages have you had to fight off with but a D-powered electrified saber as they advanced on you?
Thankfully, none.
And there you have it. On Spectrus Minor, I commanded a space fleet so vast the 2 suns were blotted out. But now I am reduced to someone who analyzes films or something.
Comic books, actually. I take it things have not been going well for you, sir?
You obviously have read my dossier. So why the subterfuge?
Deposed King Levidian Skarn, betrayed by his brother, who led an uprising among the various conquered star systems to oppose his tyrannical rule. What remains of his empire now limps along, trying to snatch up what it can, but it's a losing battle. Stop me if any of this is wrong.
When I reclaim my throne, that traitorous swine will be hung outside my palace, with cuts all over him, so that my warriors can bathe in his blood until he is dead. The Infinity Gauntlet is the key to my success. And you, critic! You are my first stepping stone!
Then choose your contest, Skarn.
Oh, but if only this tournament allowed me to gut you. But no. We will instead fight as warriors. Each of us will choose a single handheld weapon. Gun, a sword, an axe, matters not to me. Whichever of us scores 3 direct hits to the opponent will be victorious. No other weapons can be used, no force fields, no outside interference.
Acceptable. Our battlefield?
Let it not be said that I am uncharitable, whelp. Since you are going up against I, commander of the Illurian Invincibles, I shall let you choose the battlegrounds.
Okay. Right here, this house.
Very well. It will be convenient for you to go to your bed to weep after I am victorious. I will see you when the time comes.
I'll be waiting.